Fran Drescher. The inside battle over Fran Drescher's Robin Hood fund. In the final days of negotiation, the SAG-AFTRA president held out for the fund, which will redistribute some of the money actors earn on streaming. Studio sources called the fund socialist, and some guild members worried it could be abused. What?
What?
This is major news, and again, being first talked about from Cameron Pasha's own Patreon. I'm a member of his Patreon. If you want just the most relevant news going on, and from an insider, hit up his Patreon. And as he says, this has to be one of my quickest as predicted posts. Just days after I warned that SAG-AFTRA proposed Robin Hood Fund, where union leaders get to distribute streaming earnings to members, would lead to corruption, the Hollywood Reporter is raising exactly that alarm, even quoting Hollywood insiders, calling it a socialist scheme. And Cameron says, "I hate being right all the time." What? In the final days of the SAG-AFTRA contract negotiations, when pressure was closing in on the guild to end what had been a crippling nearly 6 months work stoppage, Union President Fran Drescher was holding on to an unusual demand, one that most guild members knew nothing about. This is my first time hearing about this. Drescher wanted to fund a fund which SAG had broad discretion to redistribute money to among its members. She wanted her Robin Hood fund, one studio source said. SAG's tenant agreement with the AMPTP includes the unorthodox new streaming fund, which is designed to share the wealth among more actors, even those who aren't working on the shows and films that generated it. What? The fund's unusual structure has raised questions for guild members and studios about fairness, legality, and the principle that Hollywood is a business that rewards success. What if I'm in a show on Netflix and I didn't get what I should because SAG is redistributing the wealth? Asked the studio's side source. That's problematic for SAG, for agents, for actors. In an effort to close the deal amid a 118-day strike that had been grueling for both sides, SAG and the studio agreed to create the fund while essentially punting on figuring out the finer details. Whoa. The broad strokes are this. Here's the big strokes, guys. High budget streaming shows that attract 20% of a platform's subscriber base in the first 90 days will generate a bonus, which SAG estimates will amount to about $120 million over the 3-year term of the contract. Of that bonus, 75% will go to the actors on those shows, and 25% over the of 120 million will go to a fund to be jointly administered by SAG and the AMPTP. According to SAG chief negotiator Duncan Crabtree Ireland, recipients of this fund will be limited to people who are working in streaming. It's not meant to broaden beyond that.
Wow.
So I will say this. In the deal, and I guess all the details are coming out now. In the deal, it said streaming bonuses. So this falls under that, this Robin Hood fund, streaming bonuses.
Wow.
Drescher pushed for the fund as a way to help mitigate the impact of the streaming business model on actors whose shows don't become big enough hits that reach the bonus benchmark. They deserve to make more money without question, because those shows in linear TV would have been into syndication, and there is no syndication in streaming, Drescher told the Hollywood Reporter. When studios pushed back, wanting the fund to be limited actors whose shows and films triggered the bonus, Drescher insisted that wouldn't be a wide enough tent to help SAG members, according to the source, with knowledge of negotiations. I can just already tell you, man, that just sounds fishy, because it's like you want to put a bonus to those actors of the no fault of their own that if the show is unsuccessful or doesn't go, that they get money from other
But
shows that are successful. I've never heard of that before.
yeah,
That
it's
that doesn't make sense. This is a really bad precedent. Of
yeah,
those members, only a fraction actually make a living as actors. Just 14% or 22,400 SAG members make at least the 26,470 a year required to qualify for Guild healthcare coverage. Among those who do not make their living as actors, there is some frustration about how so many non-professionals having a say over their livelihoods. The fundamental question is, why is it appropriate to have 130,000 members who don't work vote to support the union in reallocating the money generated by the 30,000 who do? Asked one guild member. Yeah, man, this is crazy.
yeah, it's
This
kind
make
of weird.
this is not making sense. During negotiations, Drescher fought hard for the fund, particularly as it was becoming clear the SAG revenue sharing proposal was a non-starter with studios. Part of the role that the A-listers, particularly Ben Affleck, were playing behind the scenes during the strike was trying to find a model for streaming compensation for both SAG and the studios would agree to. Ben came in with a different view and different formula that we didn't use, but it got to open the conversations with SAG, a studio side source says. Once he got involved and some other actors got involved, he was trying to come up with particular solutions. So he probably had a better idea than Fran Drescher. I'm just telling you right now.
Mm,
I'm just telling you right
yeah,
now. And the A-listers. In
right.
exchange for giving up on revenue sharing in favor of a streaming fund, however, Drescher wanted SAG to have complete discretion over how that fund would be dispersed. It's a key difference from the Writers Guild deal in which the streaming bonus goes to the writers whose shows earned it. And it's a model that multiple attorneys familiar with contracts have called highly unusual.
Wow.
At one point during the SAG deal negotiations, studios were concerned that the fund might even violate Section 302 of the Labor Management Relations Act, an anti-bribery statute that prohibits employers from paying money to union members or officials. By the time the deal closed, AMPTP lawyers were sufficiently comfortable the deal was on firm legal ground, according to both Guild and studio sources, because the money is earmarked for performers working in streaming. The legality of the fund is a topic that is raised with us, and we certainly discussed it, said Crabtree, but I think that those concerns have largely been resolved. Have they? We're just hearing about this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think who's gonna go where. Where's the money going? You know,
Yeah, I'm
awesome
kind
one even said, are they gonna have like an archery contest to see who gets it?
I'm kind of gobsmacked here. But given the history of what SAG members consider to be dysfunction in their union, some are wary of the new fund and the lack of information about who exactly the money will go to. Performers in the streaming is a still broad category and one that gives SAG officials significant leeway in handing out cash. The very laws it flirts with breaking were expressly intended to protect union members from exploitation by their representatives in union leadership, says one guild member. Some industry sources also worry that actors with hit shows may sue SAG over lost compensation, while studios fear that the actors whose work generates the money in the fund may feel underpaid and come back to ask them for more. I mean, this is a hornet's nest, guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I'm
they
almost
just
done here. In the final days of talks, control over the fund, along with AI protections, was a main sticking point in closing the deal. The studios negotiated SAG's discretionary portion down to 50%, then 25% where it landed. While agreeing to the fund enabled studios to finally close the deal, it rankled some of them, saying another studio source, we're against this socialism. Why should people get bonuses on shows they didn't work at all? Oof.
wow. Wow.
Yeah. What are your thoughts there?
No, yeah, I think this is something weird, especially since, when I remember
Mm-hmm.
when you had Karma on, and part of the thing
Mm-hmm.
that he was saying is that, they need to put some of this money on like the legal defense fund because they need, better representation in that sense for them. And then you have like this thing where you're like, okay, we wanted to, part of the holdup was that they wanted to get more rights for like
Yeah.
the actors. And now you're saying, hey, we're gonna take some of those rights that supposedly are gonna go to you, but
Yeah.
we're gonna redistribute it for you in your
Mm-hmm.
stead. So it's like it's in a way it feels like they're doing the same thing that they complain the studios do, right? They're saying you're
Mm-hmm.
moving stuff around, you're giving money to other people that you should come to us. This is like,
Well,
well,
okay. So as of today, the 13th of November, the SAG Union Guild, Screen Actors Guild, is getting all this official information, all the details of the agreement to its union members. They're doing Zoom webinars, the whole thing. Then supposedly there will be a vote tomorrow to ratify this. Again, right? This is not done. So what I'm wondering now, with this coming out right today, will this have any effect on the vote?
mm,
Are
like you
any
think,
members are there going to be a big enough pushback? Because I cannot imagine all the actors agreeing to this that like this deal at all. Because one, you're giving money to people who were not part of these shows or productions at all, and two, maybe more importantly, who exactly is in control of this 25%? Now let's just do a little math. You got a calculator? Let me see.
yeah,
Where's my? Can you do 120 million times by 25%? What's 25% of 120 million? That's the 3 year the 3 year idea that some panel, whoever resides at SAG, right? Whoever, and you got to understand too, these executive boards always change too. Those are voted in. It gets very political, guys. Whoever that board is, maybe they come out with a special committee just to oversee this money. Well, who are these people? Are they getting paid to be part of this committee? Do they get paid out of this new Robin Hood fund? If so, that is already corruption there. That is already not right. Roughly 30 million?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That's a lot of
Wow.
ducats.
Wow. So we're talking about $30 million that would go to people who have nothing to do with the shows that are streaming, because they act in another streaming shows that failed, that weren't a hit, that are not on. How the F is that fair or possible?
Well, that this is beginning to sound more like the cousin or the aunt of certain people are gonna get a bonus or something. It just sounds fishy as heck. It's crazy.
What are
I
your
mean,
thoughts in the chat, in the comments? Please let us know. This seems to be this is going to keep evolving. The story is not going to go away. I'm very curious the next couple of days to how the eligible voters of SAG, which probably means those people that are, what they said in this article, the ones that are eligible for healthcare, those are the ones that are going to be voting on this. This is just incredible.
now if they
Wow.
say no to this, they don't go back on strike. This just means you right.
Um, if if it's not ratified, that is a major problem for their own union. If it's not ratified because of this, then the leadership is going to have to figure something out real quick.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's so hard as it is to be a working actor. And that becomes that window of working actors who actually get eligible to make enough money to be eligible for healthcare. I mean, I'm telling you guys, how are they going to support something like this?
Do you see
when they're counting on residuals for their own livelihoods? This is a terrible option. I am not a fan of the Robin Hood fund. Woof. Wow, man.